This is not a kid-friendly show.
Yo, what is really good, my dudes? Welcome to another RuneScape news coverage video. So today, RuneScape came out with their September month ahead video, and they revealed a bunch of stuff that's coming out with Invention Batch 2. Overall, September's looking like a pretty good month, but I just thought I'd compile all the things we know about the Invention Batch 2 so far based on this video. So, first and foremost, we got here that you can make the spring cleaner. This will require 110 invention. Obviously, if you already own a spring cleaner, you can't make one, but you'll need to discover the spring cleaner and tight springs in your invention workbench. So that also leads me to believe you can also make your own tight springs, which is really cool to hear. You can now use the spring cleaner and charge it through invention, making the tight springs, which is really great to hear. Spring cleaner always felt like an invention item. Many people wanted it. So 110 invention to make your spring cleaner. Next thing we got for level 90 invention is something known as the miraculous treatment. Don't know much about this other than its name and its appearance, and it requires at least one base part to make. But my guess off the bat would be it's some kind of like enhanced plant cure. I imagine it would cure a plant from disease, maybe prevent it from getting diseased in the future, and possibly even advance a stage growth on your crops. I don't know. That's just, me spitballing of what this could do, but at level 90 invention, another new thing. And the next thing we're going to talk about are the new machines, which I did touch on previously in my last video on Invention Batch 2, but you can clearly see here that the auto plant maker at work. It's cool to see that they actually have like really detailed animations of it actually working and producing stuff. Before we get into it, it's important to note that these machines will work when you're offline, so need not worry about that. And without any further ado, let's just jump into it. First off, we got this list of hotspots that you can create. So here we have the invention levels and divine charges required to keep these up and running. So yes, you will need divine charges to make these. Just keep that in mind. First up, we got the partial potion producer at level 90 invention and requires 40 divine charges. Just to the right of that section, we see the components necessary to make those machines. So that's cool. Next up, we have the portion producer DX. I am not really sure about the relation between the producer and the producer DX, but I will touch on it in a little bit when we get further into the video, what I think it does. But if we look to the far right of this screenshot, we see partial potion producer DX, and right underneath it says mixes herbs into unfinished potions. So the partial potion producer, this is a tongue twister, it'll make unfinished potions. We see here that underneath that it has a capacity of 13,000. So this particular one will make you 13,000 unfinished potions, which is awesome. That sounds crazy. And by the way, that'll be 114 invention and require 50 divine charges. Next up, we have the plank maker at level 99 invention and 50 divine charges, and the high capacity plank maker at 117 invention and 65 divine charges. Again, you can look to the right of those and see what components you need to create those machines. Next up, we got the Alchemizer and the Alchemizer Mark II. Alchemizer requires 72 invention and 35 divine charges. It'll convert any deposited item into gold and has a capacity of 3,000. Now this is where I want to talk about the difference between the partial potion producer and the partial potion producer DX. I think the difference between them is simply the capacity. Same thing goes with the plank maker and the high capacity plank maker. I think it's just a matter of capacity. As we see, this one has 3K. I imagine the Alchemized Mark II has a much higher capacity. But yeah, that's awesome. You can chuck in a whole bunch of rune items. If you have like a loot tab that you've been gathering, toss a whole bunch of rune items in here, crank them out. It has a high capacity, so even if you have a ton of those things, it'll produce a bunch of gold for you even when you're offline. And the Mark II requires 108 invention and 55 divine charges. Finally, on here we have the auto disassembler, fairly low invention level of 60 and requires 30 divine charges. So that'll automatically disassemble anything. If you have like logs and you want simple parts for more divine charges, whatever you choose to do so. An auto disassembler is probably a really good one to have in your arsenal of machines. So that's all we're going to really talk about for machines. Let's go back to more inventions you're going to be able to make. Next up, we have the flat pack depacker. I don't know exactly what it does. I really have no idea other than its name, but obviously it works for construction in some way. It'll require 110 invention, and I imagine maybe it works like when you're making flat packs, it'll disassemble them for you or something, and then you could just continue making flat packs to your heart's content. I really don't don't know, but it has an inactive state and I guess an active state, obviously. I really don't know what this does, but I guess we'll see soon enough. Next up, we have the Divine Omatic Vacuum. This will require 110 invention, and this is essentially just like a fishing rod Omatic for divination. So while you're training divination, you'll be able to level up this object and train your invention while also training divination, which is really cool. Always good to see those things and more ways to train your invention through other skills. Next up, we have at level 115 invention, the Potion Reservoir. I really don't know what this is, but if I had to make any guess, Jagex has been talking around for a long time of an item that allows you to store all your doses of potions into one slot in your bank. If any of you are avid PVMers and you utilize presets and stuff, you know what I'm talking about. You have all kinds of doses for like your overloads, your renewals, etc., taking up a large amount of space. So what I imagine this is, you make a potion reservoir, for example, maybe make a Supreme Overload potion reservoir. This will house all your Supreme Overload doses, all of them, and then I guess you would be able to extract them for the 6 dose that you want to go PVM with. Or maybe you just leave your 6 doses alone and put all your other doses into this thing, and then when you need more and run out of your 6 doses, you just extract from this thing and take X amount of 6 doses, and it just makes managing your bank space much less tedious. That's how I think it's gonna work. Again, I know nothing more than its name, but that's how I imagine it works, because they have talked about making something like that into the game for a while now. And the final thing we're going to be talking about for things you can create is the Equipment Separator at 115 invention. This works exactly how you would imagine. It simply just takes the gizmos off of your augmented item, separates them, so you now still have the item as well as the gizmos. So you don't have to sacrifice either of those if you want to take those apart now, which is awesome to hear. Really glad they added this to the game. Next, I'm going to let Mod Mark talk to you for a second about what more to expect.
Perhaps even bigger news, though, are the suggestions that we've added from you via social media and the forums. Higher augmented item levels give further benefits, like even bigger drain rate reductions, there's increased chances of perk activation, and we've totally removed inspiration, and augmenters are now tradable.
So you heard it, we're going to have benefits for leveling our items higher than level 12, which include things like drain rate reduction, as well as have an increased chance of proccing your perks. It's going to be really huge, especially for something like Telos or whatever, where you could really utilize that Enhanced Devoted. If that means that you can proc Enhanced Devoted more often because you leveled your thing higher than 12, that is going to be a godsend. So really awesome here. Next thing to note, completely wiped out Inspiration. Don't have to worry about that mechanic whatsoever. And finally, Augmenters will be tradable, which is really awesome. Good to see that finally coming into the game. Anyways, that's all we have for the Invention Batch 2. Lots of juicy stuff to get into, but that's not all the stuff. Wasn't able to see everything that they had, but we did get a sizable amount, so hopefully that's got you excited enough for Invention Batch 2. That's it for the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you are not subscribed yet and you want to stay up to date on all things RuneScape related, then hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. I am out. Peace.